Hey everybody, welcome back to Gaijin Guided, and I'd like you to take a listen for a moment. Okay, now I don't know how well you can hear what's going on outside, but we've got what is called a sound truck out there, and these are a staple of elections in Japan. Yeah, it's election season here in Japan, and this is one of the things about Japan that, quite frankly, sucks ass. I mean, this. I mean, you could, if you can hear this, you probably have an idea of just how incredibly annoying these things are. But these are a staple of Japanese elections, and it's basically just these trucks that during the election season, from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., drive around all over with a recording or some person just yelling the same things over and over again. A lot of the times you can't even, because they have crummy speakers and stuff, you can't even really make out what they're saying. I did read an interesting article the other day. A guy, he basically kind of got fed up and sort of got in the face of one of these people. But it's basically just them saying, like, oh, you know, like, I'm this person, nice to meet you, thank you. I'm this person, thank you, please. I mean, they don't even sit there and explain what these candidates believe. It's more or less just driving around shouting the candidate's name. Supposedly, I guess it's to sort of drum up awareness of the election and just get somebody's name out there. And I suppose if somebody's particularly interested in a candidate, they'll just go online and look it up. I mean, they also have sort of like what party they're affiliated with on the side. So if it's sort of like a party you don't support, well, you're just not going to give it, you're not going to care anyway. And we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of Japanese politics here. Believe you me, if there's anything that will take the shine of Japan off for somebody who's perhaps got a little bit of a rose-colored view of this country, actually learning how politics in Japan work will really do that. But anyway, getting back to it. So sound trucks, or as many foreigners here call them, noise trucks, are just basically everywhere. They are inescapable, and oh God, as you can imagine, if you could hear any degree of that, how incredibly annoying these are. And again, if it's just basically to go around and shout some politician's name, which, you know, well, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time discussing just how ridiculous and utterly ineffective that is, but that's how it works here. And I have seen these things. I remember one time I was driving, and this was some years back, and somebody had parked one of these across the street from an apartment building. There was some guy outside holding a microphone, just like shouting nonsense at the apartment building. Uh, I mean, I just looked at that. I was like, you know, what if there's somebody in there that works the night shift? Or, you know, what if there's somebody in there that has like a small baby or something that's trying to sleep? Now, unsurprisingly, the locals absolutely hate these things too, but you know, when it's something you've been dealing with your entire life, yes, it's annoying, but it's just a fact of life. One thing I've been talking about with my students a lot lately is that something like this would just never be allowed in America, you know, because of noise pollution laws. But again, this is considered just part of the democratic process here. These are actually funded by taxpayer dollars, or taxpayer yen, I suppose I should say. There's a story I heard some years back that they were having an important ceremony at a school, and one of those trucks came by, and somebody actually parked it in the school parking lot and was babbling whatever political nonsense they believed in at the school, because they knew that I guess there were a lot of parents that were gathered there for some important ceremony. One of the vice principals at the school basically went out there and told the guy, you know, knock it off. The person at the truck was not inclined to do that. An argument ensued, and the vice principal ended up being arrested for interfering with an election. So that's yeah. Now, what I've explained to my students, like, yeah, we would never allow something like this in America. They're quite surprised. Again, it's just really, the, while it's annoying, these things are just taken as that's life. That's just a part of how things work here. You know, the sky is blue, the grass is green. During election seasons, you have these incredibly annoying trucks that drive around and, you know, yell nonsense at people. It's just a fact of life. Um, and it's certainly an interesting um, aspect of just how political life here in Japan works. But it's not just politics that do this. When I lived in this area before, I lived in an apartment, and there would be this truck that a guy sold bread out of this truck. And he would come by and he would park the truck, in the apartment building parking lot. And he was always there for like 20, 25 minutes, just babbling on, going on like about oishi pan, like delicious bread in Japanese. Now imagine having one of these things right outside your apartment and just loudly having to hear the same thing over and over again for the better part of half an hour. It it was miserable every time that guy showed up. And I swear, I can't tell you how many times I wanted to go out there and break out some of my less than polite Japanese at the guy, but frankly, it would have been pointless because, well, one, it was probably, I don't know for sure whether or not that was the guy that owned the truck or if it was just some guy who worked for him. But at the end of the day, it was just somebody trying to make a living. And, well, first of all, you don't kind of want to basically sort of get into a public shouting match with somebody when you're a foreigner living overseas, because you know that's not the sort of thing that tends to end terribly well. You don't, and especially if you're kind of working in an education situation in a country where teachers are people who are earn a high position of have a high position of respect. It's basically, you know, you should be above getting into petty shouting matches with, you know, annoying, but with annoying people. You're supposed to be above that. And at the end of the day, I ultimately knew it wasn't going to do any good. No matter what I did, no matter what I went out there and said to the guy, whenever it was on his schedule next, he was going to come back and just do the exact same thing over again because that was his job. So, yeah. So if you come here to Japan during an election season, this is just one extraordinarily annoying thing you're going to have to learn to put up with. And of course, people are always immensely, immensely glad when the election season is over and whoever wins, then at least there's some peace and quiet again. And I suppose that we should be grateful for the fact that Japanese election seasons are vastly shorter than American election seasons. I cannot even imagine what it would be like if we had to listen in America, if we had to listen to things like this. I mean, elections have kind of turned into things that take like a year and a half almost when people start really gearing up for these things. I mean, it's complete and utter madness. But, you know, that's the political reality of life in America these days. Again, of course, we don't have those trucks. They would certainly not be allowed. Any politician that tried this would, one, be get in trouble for noise pollution laws and would be basically publicly skinned. Never mind that, you know, this being America, it would probably be hours, if you know, days, if we're lucky, before somebody got sick and tired of it and, you know, whipped out a gun and took a shot at one of these things, because that's kind of what Americans do to things that irritate them. Pull out a gun and shoot them. So, yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have some blessed silence, I will thank you for taking the time to spend some of it listening to me. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. You can, of course, also join me on Twitter at Gaijin Gaiden. And until next time, take care and have a good one.